Hello, welcome to Adulting 101, Episode 3, Managing Your Household. My name is Randall Crouch. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in practice since 2005. I specialize in treating mood disorders, trauma, and helping relationship issues. Along the path of my career, I have helped so many people with what we call activities of daily living. How do you manage life in general? How do you do basic things? Sometimes you're not taught that, sometimes your parents weren't taught that, or your caregivers weren't taught that, and they didn't pass it on to you. So you don't know what you don't know, and I'm here to try to fill in some of those gaps that you may have. These skills may not apply to everyone, it may not apply in every situation, but it's good information to know regardless of that. I'm a proud dad of two adult kids. Both my kids are one's 29, the other's 31, and they have done exceptionally well in life, in their jobs, in their marriages, and home ownership, which I'm going to talk about in this episode a little bit. Again, I know that's not for everybody. I know it's exceptionally difficult, especially in this day and age, for young people to be able to buy a home and succeed in that investment. But it's not impossible. And I'm going to try to help you figure out how you can do that. So the next slide here, managing your household. So we're going to cover basics in this, household basics, budgeting and saving, and the path to homeownership that I talked about earlier. Again, I helped people in that suffered from severe and persistent mental illness, and it amazed me how much they would struggle with just household basics. Knowing that they needed to clean, not knowing that they needed to clean their house, not knowing that they needed to do basic maintenance on it, even if you rent. And I'm going to cover that. Let's go to the next slide. All right, household basics. Keep your home clean and tidy. There's a huge reason that I say this and kind of push this issue. If you have dirty dishes or dirty clothes out, or you just kind of leave your house trashed, it can really have an impact on your mental health. For one thing, if your house is clean and tidy and neat, it's a source of pride for you. I come home, my house is clean. I have people maybe come over, the house is clean. And that can be a source of pride. If your house is a pigsty, you may invite rodents, roaches, ants, all sorts of critters that you don't really want in your house. And it can also be a source of shame for you, that I don't want to have people over because my house is nasty. So by taking the time, and it isn't a lot of time, to get your house in order, keep it in order, you'd be amazed at how easy it is going down the road. Sweep or vacuum your floors as often as necessary, but do it at least once a week. If you have dogs or cats, you need to do it more often, obviously. You don't want a hair carpet. I have 3 dogs. We vacuum almost every day because of the dog hair. It's just something to have to keep up with when you own pets. All right, take your trash out at least once a week. It's kind of a no-brainer, but I've gone into clients' houses and the trash is piled up in one room and like they're hoarding it. And they're like, I didn't know what to do with it. Seriously, take it out to the curb, find out when your pickup day is, and get your trash picked up regularly. All right, deep clean once a month. I know this can be a big deal for some people. They don't want to do it. It's a lot of work. They've got other things to do. Again, this is one of those things that if you do this, you're gonna not just keep your house clean, you're also going to head off any maintenance issues that you might have. As you're deep cleaning, you may notice, oh, the drywall's got a crack in it here, or there's a hole here. You may notice, oh, I wiped down this doorknob and the handle's loose. I need to tighten it up. You're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone by doing that. Once a month, take an hour, take 2 hours, depending on how big your house or apartment is, and clean it. Deep clean it. Change your air filter regularly, but at least every 90 days. Again, if you have pets, you may have to do this more often. So It's not a big deal. I make it a habit. Now, where I'm at now, our house doesn't have central heat and air, so I don't have an air filter. But when I was living in Florida, on the first of every month, I had a list of filters I changed. I changed the filter in the air conditioning. So that was one of them, and then I would check the filter in the refrigerator for the water filter and make sure that it wasn't telling me it was time to change it. All right. Don't bring food into your bedroom. Now, I know some of you probably rent a room and you don't have a choice, and just ignore this part of bringing the food into your bedroom, because that may be the only room you have. But if you're in an apartment and you have a kitchen or a kitchenette or an eat-in kitchen or dining room, whatever, you want to eat there. When we bring food into our bedroom, in particular, if we eat in bed, it can disrupt what's called sleep hygiene, and you don't want to do that either. And I'm going to do an episode on sleep hygiene in the future, so if you're curious about that, you can look it up and see what sleep hygiene is, but I'm going to do a full episode on that. More importantly, though, you can invite pests into your room. So again, ants, spiders, cockroaches, rodents, who knows what you're going to get. So your room can stink. You can end up with mold and bacteria and all sorts of nastiness in there. So sanitize the kitchen and bathroom. So my personal thing is that those should be the two cleanest rooms in your house or your apartment. Your kitchen needs to be sanitized and clean. Your bathroom needs to be sanitized and clean. Daily, if you can, wipe it down with the Clorox wipes or use the vinegar spray or whatever it is that you choose to use. But sanitize those surfaces that get touched and used every day. It'll help keep you physically healthy, and others that visit your home could stay healthy as well. All right. Change smoke alarm batteries twice a year. Usually if you do this when you change the clocks, it is pretty easy to remember because that's about 6 months apart. So somewhere around there. But if not, you can set a reminder on your smart speaker or on your calendars and get those changed. All right. Next slide. All right, keep up with repairs and maintenance, even if you rent. I know some of you are like, no, I'm just going to call the landlord and they're going to take care of it. And if you got a great landlord who jumps right in and takes care of that stuff, good for you. I'm guessing you probably don't have the best landlords, or they're very busy, and broken stuff can linger for a while. And that just hurts you. So let your landlord know, hey, I got this issue. If you can fix it or you can pay to have it fixed, do so. But let them know, like, I'm going to get this fixed now and I'm going to save the receipt and you can take it off the rent or reimburse me or whatever. If you don't have that, with your landlord, again, if your landlord says, no, I'll get to it, then you got to kind of listen to that. But my personal viewpoint again is that if I don't want to live in something that's breaking down or is broken down, I'm going to fix whatever it is. Even it's going to make my life better, even if I don't get that money back. I'm going to try to fix it. So I put in the thing: you can pay for the repairs, keep the receipts, utilize small claims court if necessary. Small claims court would be the last, your last option, of course, if your landlord doesn't want to pay you back. But sometimes you have to put a price on your mental health. What's it worth to me to have this particular thing fixed? And is it worth fighting over? If it's a couple of $100, is it worth taking somebody to court and fighting over that? Now, if it's several thousand, it may be worth that for you. But anyway, check and tighten door handles, washing machine hoses, and toilet hoses once a month if necessary. I just do a courtesy walk around the house on the first again, and I check to make sure everything's nice and tight, and it usually is, but once in a while you'll find one that's loose. I had a doorknob downstairs in this house that was loose. I went to close it the other day. It was rattling. It's not a door we use very often. It's not a room we use very often. Okay, I put clean your oven once a month, more if necessary. If you don't ever use the oven, obviously you don't have to clean it. But if you regularly use the oven and you're cooking, you may need to clean it more often. And your oven is more efficient when it's clean. So That's the reason we do that, and it'll last longer, and you won't have a nasty oven. All right, if you have a clothes dryer in your house, you want to clean the dryer trap after every use, and you want to clean that vent hose system out once a year. And you can hire a service that does that. It's pretty affordable. They come out, they've got equipment, they run big brushes through, they vacuum it all out. This is to help prevent fires. It will also increase the life of your dryer and help it work more efficiently. Because the way a dryer works is it's gotta get the heat. It pushes the heat through the clothes, and the heat has to go out. And if the heat can't go out, and the heat and moisture can't go out, then the moisture stays in the clothes. It takes longer to dry. So keep that in mind. If you don't have any idea how to clean that, how to change your dryer or clean your dryer trap or clean the hose vent, there's plenty of YouTube videos on how to do that. All right. Keep your home secure. Make sure your doors and windows are locked when you're not home, and even when you are at home. If you can utilize security cameras, do so. And one of the things I always did when I was renting is I just let the landlord know, hey, I would pay to get the locks changed and then give them the new key. I never had an issue with any landlord telling me not to do that. So they don't care. They got the key. They can still get in. But it would give me a peace of mind knowing no one has a key. When I bought this house, it was one of the first things we did. We changed the front door completely because it was in bad shape, and I ended up changing the garage door, and that was the two keyed entrances to this house. So the former owners don't have access to this house anymore. So, all right. Let me back up real quick. And that also goes to your own sense of security, that if you know your windows are locked, you know your doors are locked, you should be safe in your own home. And that goes to your personal safety, which was in the previous episode lesson. All right, next slide. Budgeting and saving. Budgeting is really important, and a lot of times I get couples in counseling sessions, and they were in distress over their finances. And that's one of the first things I would ask them is, do you have a written budget? And 100% of the time they did not. And that always blew my mind. So if you have a written budget and both of you can see, this is what we're bringing in, this is what we're spending, then you can make adjustments as necessary if you're spending too much, or if you're not making enough money and maybe need to look at getting another job or getting a different job or whatever it is. But you need to be able to see that on paper. In my case, it's a spreadsheet, Excel, and there's lots of other spreadsheet programs. Very easy to use. There's templates available, and you can just pop in your numbers and whatnot. I know a lot of the banks have that on their apps. Even they'll have the budget you can set and do, and it'll remind you and let you know if you're doing good or not. All right. There's two types of expenses we have in our lives. We have fixed expenses, and those are the things that stay the same month to month. Might be your rent or mortgage, your car payment, your car insurance, other payments that are consistent every month. If you got student loan payments or whatever it is, you're paying that every single month. And it's the same amount every month. You can calculate that. That's cake. That's the easy thing to do. We have variable expenses as well, and those are the things that change or can change depending on what's going on. So your grocery bill week to week may change depending on the market, depending on pricing, depending on what your needs are. Your fuel may change. Your gasoline bill may change. All of that may change because there's a fluctuation in the market, obviously. You may have expenses one month that you won't have the next month. So maybe you needed some new clothes because you got a new job. So you go buy new clothes. That's an expense that you have, but you may not have that the next month because you have enough clothes now. So next slide. For variable expenses, we want to use averages and overestimates if possible. And So I wrote here, when estimating variable expenses, use averages or overestimate the expense by 5 to 10% until you can get a solid monthly average. This can help you with your budget. So if you keep a budget for a year and you write down everything that you bring in, everything that you spend to the penny, the next year setting that budget is so much easier because you know this is what I'm likely to spend. This was the cost of living increase. Let's say cost of living went up 5%. You add 5% to your overall budget on your expenses, and you should be good to go. Again, pay yourself first is pretty straightforward. Even if it's $5 or $10 a check, put that $5 or $10 in a savings account and forget about it. Every time. It will build up and you will earn interest on it. It's very important that you do this. The other part that's on this slide is the emergency fund. And I can't tell you the number of times where I've had something happen and I've always kept between $500 and $1,000 in a checking account or savings account. Yeah, I know some of you are like, but I can have multiple emergencies. You can, and when that happens, you just have to help, rely on friends and family if they can help you. And sometimes you just gotta suffer through until you can get those things fixed. I've been there, done that too. So, but if you don't have the emergency fund, you can't even help yourself the first time. All right, next slide. All right, path to home ownership. Again, I know at the start of this, I said this may not be for everybody. There are definitely pros and cons to owning a house, and I know in this day and age in particular, in this market with high interest rates and high house prices, it can seem daunting, and it is daunting. I'm not gonna lie. So this is for those of you who are considering buying a house. Some people are fine renting and they'll rent all their lives and they do okay with it. And if you get a great lease, a long-term lease, and you've got a great landlord or managing company, and you just don't have any issues, there's nothing wrong with renting. Home ownership gives you some pros. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. All right, the biggest con to owning a home is that you're responsible for all the maintenance, upkeep, taxes, insurance. That if you need to, you get a job across on the other side of the United States, for example, sometimes selling your home isn't that easy. Buying and selling a home is very expensive. There are many extra costs involved that you typically don't think about. Realtors fees, closing costs, escrow fees. There's all sorts of different things that you can end up paying. So if you own the home and you need to move, it may take you a little while to sell it. So you could find yourself stuck in a home that you can no longer afford, or there's no easy way to get out, or that it's not, fitting in your wheelhouse anymore because of employment or life changes. So that's one of those are some of the cons. Let's go to the next slide here. Some of the pros are that you're investing in something that has a relatively low risk and a significantly good chance of a decent return on investment. Owning your home means you're free to make it your own home within building and/or HOA codes. So, do you want to paint it pink and purple? As long as your HOA or your community doesn't say anything about it, you can do what you want. And that's kind of the good thing about owning a home. It's yours, make it yours, customize it. You can be you in your own home. I think that's the coolest thing. All right, rents are usually more than mortgage payments and can change with each renewal. So if you buy a house and it's your 30-year mortgage, for example, your 30-year mortgage payment is going to be the same for every month for 30 years, no matter what. And you rent, every time your lease comes up for renewal, your rent's likely going to go up every time. So, keep that in mind. Homeownership brings a sense of pride. There's a lot of pride in owning your home. Go to the next slide here. All right. So we talked about this a little bit. Set a budget for your house. Your housing expenses shouldn't be more than 30% of your income. This includes whether you rent or own. It doesn't matter. 30% is a really good rule. What do I pay in rent? What do I pay in electricity? What do I pay in my water, sewer bill? what do I pay for my trash bill? 30%. Keep it at that, and you'll be fine. What gets people in trouble is when they're spending 50, 60, 70, 80% of their income on household expenses. That's when they can't really afford it. And again, I know some of you might say, well, you don't know what it's like now. I do. I talk to clients. I know that rents are excessive and crazy, and that's why I wanted to include this path to home ownership. Because even if you spend 5 years of your life or 7 years of your life renting and trying to save money enough to buy a house, that's going to set you up for longer term success down the road. All right. Start saving money for the home. There are still mortgages with as little as 3% down, but it's better to put 20% down. You can avoid a mortgage insurance in that case. So you want to avoid that. It's an extra fee every month. All right, get pre-qualified from a reputable lender. Shop around, get the best rates you can. Hire a buyer's agent when you're ready to buy. Utilizing the buyer's agent can really help you a lot if they will be on your side. What ends up happening if you don't, the selling realtor will become a transactional agent, and they don't have your best interest in mind. So it doesn't behoove them to get you the best deal on the house, or to tell you any pitfalls or any of that, because they're going to get their commission, and that's what they want. So keep that in mind. Buyer's agent, it's worth the money. I know they changed the laws and with agents, and you got to pay them and whatnot, but that you negotiate with them. You don't have to give them a percentage necessarily. You can give them a flat rate. All right, next slide. All right, go house hunting, but keep your emotions in check. House hunting is not like anything else. I'd say the same when you're buying a car, though. Don't buy a car based on emotions. Don't buy a house based on emotions. If the house is really cute, really cool, whatever, in the great location, that's great. Keep your emotions in check, because you've got to go through a long process to end up with that house. Hire a home inspector when you land on a house you think is a good investment and fit, because you never know. Again, the house may look great, and the home inspector comes in and says, hey, you got termites. Oh, okay. And then you have a decision to make. Do we keep that? Do we make an offer on this knowing we're going to have it tented, have the termite damage repaired, or do we move on to something else? All right, shop around for homeowners insurance and flood insurance. Keep in mind that flood insurance covers floods. That's it. Homeowners insurance typically will not cover any flooding, and that includes broken water pipes. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Your flood insurance will cover a broken water pipe. But a lot of times we think about flood insurance as, well, there was a storm or a storm surge, or the river came over, or whatever it is, or tidal wave, whatever. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right. And then you're going to close on your house, and if you hire a reputable moving company, so your buddies don't hate you for telling them you'll give them a 6-pack and a pizza to help you move. All right, we're going to summarize here. Last slide. Here's what we learned: household basics. Keep your place clean and tidy. Keep up with maintenance items. Keep your home secure. Budgeting and saving. You want to set and maintain an accurate budget of income and expenses. Pay yourself first. Live within your means. Path to home ownership, budget for your new home, start saving money, hire professionals that can help you with the process, and enjoy your new home. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. There's one more lesson in this series that will be released next week, and I will see you then. If you like this, like and subscribe. Thank you.